What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today I would like to preview the New York Jets versus the Carolina Panthers. Before we get started today, Matt O'Leary NY on socials. Don't forget about the Just Jets podcast. And actually, this is very exciting. So I will be doing the live streaming on Talkin' Jets for the Jets-Panthers game. I'll be live with Jeremy over from Jets Chaos, Jets Lounge Chaos. Jet Lounge, Jeremy. I don't know what he's calling himself today. He changes so often, but you know who I'm talking about. Jeremy, I'm just giving you a hard time. I will be live streaming over there, so make sure to check it out if you want to hang during the game. Okay, so no starters in this one, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because, I don't know, part of me wants to see them. I don't actually want to see them. I kind of want them bubble wrapped because I don't want anything bad to happen before the season starts. But I got that itch. I'm itching to see, Jets football, and we got it the last time against Cleveland. It's different. I'm getting the itch to see some of the guys out there playing at their best. But I understand, right, why you're not going to see a ton of the regulars out there. And really no complaints. They're going to use the Giants game supposedly as the ramp-up one. That's what Robert Saleh has maintained for seemingly weeks now, for a pretty long time. But something I'm curious about is how the New York Jets defense, whoever is out there, right, second team, third team, and beyond, do against Bryce Young. Bryce Young is making his NFL debut. I would expect him to get a couple of series. It's their first game. The Jets and the Browns are the only team that's really, played a game already once and is going into their second game. The guys who played earlier this week on Thursday, that was their first time playing in a preseason game so far this year. So the Jets will have a little bit of a different plan as their second preseason game, while Carolina, this is their first. So yes, Bryce Young is getting the start, which is exciting for them. I'm, looking forward to seeing Young and, number one overall pick. How does he play? But can the Jets defensive line get home? I think they do. That's going to be my prediction because, one, the Panthers offensive line, they're dealing with some injuries right now. And number two, I don't know how long the starters necessarily will go. And the Jets second team defensive line, I mean, you're still going to see guys like Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Bryce Huff, Solomon Thomas, guys who would be number one or first team guys on a lot of different teams. But because the Jets are so deep at the position, I think they get home a little bit. So some names to look for, like Brandon Echols, for instance. He had a pick six on Bryce Young in practice, and maybe he does it again in the game because he is going to play as. Don't anticipate DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner playing in this game. It'll be Brandon Echols and Hall. And, I've liked Bryce Hall a lot ever since he was coming out of Virginia. He was someone who I thought was going to be a second round-ish pick, and he ends up going to the Jets in the fourth or fifth round. And, he looked good. He started early on in his career. He's been used as a backup, and honestly, he's kind of regressed, and it looks like Brandon Echols is taking over that role as the next man up if there was an injury. For instance, Sauce Gardner did not practice against the Carolina Panthers on, Wednesday, I believe, the combined or the joint practice was. So Brandon Echols was the one who stepped up into the role in the first team. So looking forward to see how he plays. Zach Wilson is someone that I'm keeping a close eye on. Of course, we know he's not starting for this team, but it's very obvious and evident that he is going to be QB2, whether you like it or not. I know that, a lot of people wanted a veteran, and that, again, I totally understand that perspective. Get it, gotcha. I understand where you're coming from here, but that seemingly that ship has sailed. So with Zach, I want to see, does he look better than what he did against Cleveland? I am hoping he plays more. Now, the Jets are only carrying three quarterbacks at the time, and one of them will not be dressing in Aaron Rodgers. So logic tells you that it would be first half Zach Wilson, second half Tim Boyle, you would think, unless maybe they do a quarter Zach and then 3/4 Tim Boyle. Really hope that's not the case. I think Zach deserves the reps here, and I think he frankly needs the reps. I want to see if he can prove himself as QB2. He hasn't necessarily proven anything yet. And yes, there's been moments where he's had, pretty good training camp days and, moments against Cleveland where he looked really good. But I want to see it in game. Game is very different, even if it is a preseason game, than practice. And again, that's an important piece to the puzzle. as the backup quarterback. And I know people are tired of talking about Zach Wilson, and I get it. I'm not saying, start him or that he's the answer after Aaron Rodgers. None of that. I just want to see, can you be QB2? And I think we deserve, call it a half of Zach Wilson. And then that's kind of a good segue into Mekhi Becton, because he played 7 offensive snaps against Cleveland. How long do they stretch him out in this game? Are we talking, is it a jump of 7 snaps to 15 snaps? Is it a quarter? Is it a half? How big of a jump does he take in his second preseason game? And because right now he's played, second team left tackle, that's where he's been. And Dwayne Brown coming back at some point eventually. Robert Saleh keeps saying at some point, soon is when Dwayne Brown will be back. What soon means, God only knows. But with Mekhi Becton, how long can he go? Where's his knee at in the recovery process? He's someone that I want to see. And also on that offensive line, Joe Tippmann. He played a ton in the first Jets preseason game and looked pretty good. Can he continue to put these good practices and game situations and film together? More importantly, put good things on film. And can he push for Connor McGovern? The last time we spoke before, leading into the game against Cleveland, it was pretty much thought, Connor Hughes was reporting that it's not a realistic option for him to be starting. It's going to be Connor McGovern, and Wes Schweitzer was the second team guy. They have since moved Schweitzer over to guard, which I think makes more sense. And Tippmann's continuing to play well. So is his stock continuing to rise? That's what I want to see. One, how long does he play? And does he have another good game? Because, the Panthers, they're a young up-and-coming team, and I don't look at them as a playoff team, but can they go out and win 7, 8, 9, maybe at the most games this year, depending on how good Bryce is? Yeah, I think they're somewhere in that 7 to 9 win range. I think that's realistic. And they have some dominant guys on that defense. And, how does he hold up against some of those better defensive linemen? I think that's worthwhile to look into. And last thing for me, so in the first game against Cleveland, guys like Will McDonald and Bryce Huff were in there in the fourth quarter of this game, which made me super uncomfortable because, yes, they're not going to technically be starters on this Jets team, but they are going to be heavily used in the Jets rotation of defensive linemen. That's their biggest strength, is the defensive line, and they're going to rotate their guys through. And seeing them out there, it was giving me Mark Sanchez injured in the fourth quarter of the preseason game against the Giants vibes. It was giving me Carl Lawson injury in joint practice against the Packers. It was just I don't know. And again, not necessarily the same echelon of player, of losing what could have been your starting quarterback in Mark Sanchez for the season, or losing Carl Lawson, who was going to be for sure a starter and was the best player in training camp that offseason, or that training camp period, frankly. But losing Will McDonald, who was a 15th overall pick, would stink, and losing your best pure edge rusher in Bryce Huff would also stink. So I don't want to see those guys out there in the fourth. I'm not saying don't play them. You got to play somebody, but man, it's hard not to get nervous about it would really stink if Bryce Huff or Will McDonald go down against the third team Carolina Panthers offense. That would be brutal. So anyway, most important thing, nobody hurt, as we were just kind of talking about. Get through this game injury-free. I'm curious to see about some of the Jets' depth, how they look, and just continuing to get this thing forward. That's what I'm looking for. I want to hear from you. What are you looking for in this game against the Carolina Panthers? Sound off below in the comments or on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Once again, subscribe if you're new. Give a thumbs up. I'll catch you next time.